All right, so Cathie Wood is making some moves with not only Coinbase, but also GBTC. We'll dive into a little bit of that. Regulators are also on the move. We've got a lot breaking down for you today. It's going to be a fun one. My name is Paul Barrow. Welcome back into Tech Path. Joining me today, of course, Dana Howe. Great to have you in. All right, Dana, we've got a lot happening today that we're going to break down for everybody, get into what Cathie's doing, some of the regulator stuff, really kind of a plethora of things happening right now that are putting some pressures on Bitcoin. And we'll dive into all that. I do want to thank our sponsor today, and that is Bybit. Of course, if you guys are looking at next level trading, Bybit is your place. Remember that Bybit is an international exchange, so it's only available outside the US, so make sure and be aware of that. But you, of course, can get into a lot of what they're doing. They've got their Crypto Cup kickoff, which is grabbing a share of almost half a mil of USDT in their prize pool. Additionally, they've got zero spot fees, so that's another advantage. So make sure you use our link below for all that good stuff. All right, man, let's get into it. All right, so first up, I think, was the story on CoinDesk that really kind of got into this whole issue around the senators and SoFi. What did you make of this?
So SoFi is being targeted right now because they need to make a decision whether or not they're going to have digital assets. And we have, one of the most infamous guys who is very, very against cryptocurrency. And he's leading this letter against SoFi.
Yeah, so a couple of them on here is Senator Sherrod Brown, Jack Reed, Chris Van Hollen, and then also Tina Smith. They all wrote this open letter to the digital finance company, SoFi. I don't know if I'm a CEO of SoFi and I get this letter and I'm thinking, holy shit.
What do you do?
What is going on now? What's next here? All right. So what did the letter kind of portray?
So this letter is really a PR stunt. It's a group of senators saying, we're doing something.
Yeah.
So can you all respond and let us know how you are running your business? And please respond to these 5 or so points immediately.
Yeah.
What do you do when you get a letter from senators? Do you have to respond? It's not really a warning letter.
I'm sure Mr. Anthony Noto, the CEO of SoFi, here's the letter right here. So it's just saying this exactly what Dana was talking about. They're writing to inquire about the tech. Here's the continued non-bank digital assets trading activities pose risk to consumers and safety soundness risk to your institution. Now, I look at it this way. First of all, in full disclosure, if a platform is putting out that the risks are there, if someone's investing in Cardano or into Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc., those are traditional assets in the space. I don't know that we've seen a regulatory guidance yet here that has gone to this extent. Now, I get it that everybody's kind of shell-shocked because of the FTX deal, but SoFi really is kind of more of a bank, even though they do have crypto assets.
Exactly.
It's a very interesting trade on this because they are operating as and under other bank charters as well.
Right, and that's exactly why they're sending this letter to them. And also on the website of SoFi, they did disclose that if you're investing in Dogecoin, this is a meme coin. And the other question is that not a lot of people are talking about, a couple of people are, is whether or not a Dogecoin is a securities or a commodity.
Yeah.
So what's the answer there? And these questions are asking SoFi to answer what's not really answerable yet.
Yeah. Well, I think, and again, this is something that we've talked about a lot, guys, on the show, and that is who's the winners and the losers of this whole FTX debacle. If you look at the tentacles that are really moving into the space right now, I think the winners, and we talked about it on the last show, Dana was here, is the winners are the regulators. They're going to get a chance to now really utilize their pulpit to really go out and not only kind of try to make kudos for themselves to their constituents, but I think also start to create a little bit of demand in the space of lobbying, which is really at the end of the day, I mean, come on, this is exactly what Washington, D.C. wants. Spend more money to the D.C. bureaucrats, be able to guide that. This is essentially what Sam Bankman-Fried was up to, and a lot of that is playing out. Further in the letter, they're talking about following its conversation to BHC, SoFi continues to operate non-bank subsidiary SoFi Digital Assets, an exchange for retail investors to buy and sell digital assets. Here's my question, Dana. How does this play out into things like Robinhood, who has a traditional, dealer broker, now also crypto exchanges, and possibly a bank, element that could be playing into it. Then you got M1 Finance that's kind of in this group as well, and many others along with Fidelity, who's coming into this game as well. Where does this stop in the essence of just simply writing up regulation and saying, all right, here's the regulation law, meet that?
Exactly, and that's why this is such a PR stunt, because they haven't, to me, really been thinking about what are the things that need to be in place, the barriers in place to make this more secure.
Yeah.
Instead, it's a question. And so, sure, there needs to be some changes, but we don't know what those are going to be necessarily.
And for the point of, and we get a chance to talk about this quite a bit, is when we're at this state right now, we've said it before, is that this, and we've kind of talked about the whole aspect of, yes, legislation is coming. Yes, we know that's going to eventually be. FTX kind of sped everything up for all of this. But the real question to me is, how far is this going to go? Are we at maybe the point of no return for legislation? And what I mean by that is, when you look at the New York Fed, you look at all these banks looking at a new digital dollar test, you look at possibly an acceleration point now for DC to come in, and then you have these little antics of these senators saying, hey, who are the banks out there that are causing our regular bank friends over here a little bit of trouble? And they're going to say, oh, well, SoFi, number one, big boys. You look at the alternatives out there, M1 Finance, much smaller, and others like them that are kind of treading into the waters of traditional bank, which is basically taking away depositors. At the end of the day, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, and SoFi didn't have any exposure to FTX.
Yeah, exactly.
So now their prices
well, it's like they're almost proactive.
Right.
Yeah, so in going on this.
Right.
All right, so let's get into the Bitcoin news today, because this is a pretty big issue when you look at CoinShares, digital assets funds, and their weekly flows. What do you make of this, Dana?
I'm not surprised. The market is following the same exact thing that happened in the .com bust. So, of course, a lot of people know that if we are going to follow the same path, there will be a downturn in Bitcoin. How much? We don't really know. And a lot of people just sold a lot of their altcoins last week. Millions of dollars worth. Where is that going to go? Yeah. That's going to be probably shorted right now.
Yeah.
If you're trying to play the market. Not that I'm doing this.
Not investment advice. But okay, so a couple of things on the CoinShares digital asset weekly list. They said short investment product inflows represented 75% of total inflows right now, suggesting that the aggregate sentiment was deeply negative for the asset class, while now their AUM is now at the lowest point in 2 years, which is like 22 billion. So
yeah,
that's
and
a pretty big
where's
deal.
The money going from FTX? Like this is not saying this is a black swan event, FTX whatsoever. Cheap money now is no longer a thing from the government.
Right.
And so now we're seeing all of these companies that are failing. So not a black swan per se. So we can't say this is super abnormal because of that, but I'm not really shocked.
Yeah.
I'm not super shocked right now.
Well, and Ethereum says, okay, largest inflows to record, short Ethereum investment product right now, totally 14 mil, not a big deal. A little bit more here in terms of, I think in general, if you look at what's happening with not only the flows by provider, you got Grayscale, of course, in this, CoinShares Physical, 21 shares in here, ProShares is in here. I think it's interesting when we look at just Bitcoin in general and what's been pushing it. The other thing that kind of plays into this is the miners. And when you look at miners, this story right here kind of addresses it. Where do you see this piece heading?
I mean, Bitcoin miners were mining for a very long period of time, and now there's not a lot of money in this business. They're leaving they're leaving all of their mining equipment behind. Yeah. Many of them are. I think it's just par for the course. I think this is something that we have to wait out.
Yeah, so here it is right here, just kind of hitting in on a couple of things. Selling at the most aggressive rate in almost 7 years. This is a 400% increase selling pressure over the last 3 weeks. That alone, I think, is a huge issue. Now, the question will be how this plays out with the variation of miners, because we've had Hut 8 on here, Riot, Marathon. I mean, we've seen a lot of the miners who have said, listen, we know what our plans are if Bitcoin makes it to a certain level. And maybe now we are at that certain level. Here was a chart. Let me kind of highlight this chart right here. This was their difficulty estimator. If you look at it right there, current pace, previous difficulty, and then you look at the the overall previous target, and really kind of in general, I think what's happening is finally we're at a point where mining costs are now in a position where they've basically outpaced the price of Bitcoin, and necessarily the potential inflationary aspect of what's happened with electric costs and operational costs as well from a miner standpoint.
Yeah, a lot of them are not able to afford it right now.
This was an interesting tweet right here. This kind of shows a little bit here. Let me.
And also, there's a lot more Bitcoin than there was 7 years ago.
Well, sure, yeah, you've got, true. So this right here, just to show you guys this quick treat, this is the 7 years ago, up 400%. Granted, there's more Bitcoin there, which obviously would pace against it. But you can see right here the spike. This is mainly the big concern that everybody is really worried about here in 2023. And I think the zone that we're starting to enter, if you look right here on this top of this chart, you'll notice that the $16,000 zone is really the one that creates the most heat for miners and pressure for miners to go into a potential selling position. There's others out there that are also faced in with this. I mean, you've got Michael Saylor also in the game of potentially running into this. You've got a lot happening around this, and that's not to mention what's happening with GBTC if we start to see some pressure from that aspect of it as well. So that's a big deal, I think. When you look at Genesis, our next story, they're denying this whole bankruptcy thing. So is it a denial? I don't know if it's a denial or if they're just trying to maybe fend this off for a minute to see if the market recorrects a little bit, or if there's some potential new aid there for them because they were looking for like $1 billion.
Well, in the article it says the firm has reportedly faced difficulties raising money for its lending unit and told investors it would have to file for bankruptcy in November 21st in a Bloomberg report. However, then they said, the spokesperson for Genesis says, we have no plans to file bankruptcy imminently. So that's an interesting word. Our goal is to resolve the current situation consensually without the need for any bankruptcy filing. However, they were exposed, FTX.
Yeah.
Well, $175 million. Yeah. We don't really know what's going on.
Yeah, I think this one is still, and we've talked about it here on the show a couple of times, is this issue with Genesis is one of the most concerning to me because of the fact that it's just so tightly connected to, GBTC in general, but you also look at the overall market being affected in digital currency group and what that might mean. And we talked about it quite a bit yesterday on the live. And I'd love to get you guys' feedback. If do you feel like these kinds of scenarios are going to be the things that drop Bitcoin into the sub 14? When I say sub 14, some people, and we've had Gareth on the show talking 10K or possibly less. Is this the potential event that potentially does it if we see Genesis take a nosedive into bankruptcy, and the potential of more pressure on digital currency group to try to do something on the backside of Grayscale? So a lot happening here for sure. I think this is going to be a big one right here. Gemini is up next. This is the other kind of trickle-on effect that is playing into this. Exchange-wise, what do you think, Dana, on how Gemini pulls this off? Because right now they're not, their regular deposit account is okay, at least on being able to withdraw and deposit into. But if you get into the earn side is where they're running some difficulties.
There's so many concerns over exchanges in general. We don't know if exchanges are colluding, sending money back and forth to each other to kind of forge their balance sheets. And it's not an honest practice, but it's being done. So I just don't have any money on exchanges, period. And I don't even spend too much time trying to figure out which ones are safe, which ones aren't. Like you said, using exchanges for trading, okay, understandable. Just get it off really quick. Not financial advice.
Yeah. So You've got, their update for their earned customers. They said they continue to work with Genesis Global. And this is hopefully going to get resolved, but, maybe they've got a potential solution here for the Winklevoss twins to be able to pull this out. And I think the question will be this, is right now, if you look at the array of exchanges that have really been affected, many people would look at right now, obviously FTX as a casualty. Obviously, we've seen the aspect of Celsius and Voyager. Many people are looking at Crypto.com as a problem. And then you've got Gemini now with Gemini Earn, and then that also itself kind of creates a little bit of them on the watch list. And then you have Coinbase, also in the middle of this because of their connection to GBTC. So it's not necessarily outside of that. Who do you trade on if you're not trading on, maybe Kraken or KuCoin or Binance, Bybit? It depends on if you're international, all that. So I think at this time, self-custody, guys, is probably as good as it gets out there. Make sure and hit the like button. It is something that helps the channel out, and it does help us move into understanding, what you guys like to watch and listen to here on the show. Next up is Cathie Wood. Let's talk a little bit about her. So we got Cathie Wood, ARK Invest, adding more Bitcoin exposure as GBTC and Coinbase stock hit new lows. I don't know what to think about this. So I'm a big Cathie Wood fan. What are your thoughts on this, Dana?
I think that she doesn't want to miss the low, and she wants to be exposed. It's understandable.
Yeah.
It's risky.
This is super risk for me.
It's risky.
I don't know. Either ARK is going to be one of the greatest investing minds at the bottom of a market, or she's going to end up, funneling into maybe a death spiral with GBTC. It's one or the other. Either you are going to win this huge because you bought at this ridiculous discount of 50%, and you've got Coinbase stocks currently. Let me look and see where Coinbase stock is today. So, all right. So here we are in the daily, and you can kind of see. Just look at the hit that Coinbase stock has taken in this short period of time, and we're talking about a 44% move since October down. So, this in itself might look at it, as an investor. Many people might say, well, let's take a look at the long term, Paul. Yeah, you've had some really big opportunities where Coinbase, obviously we know the dump that we had from when it listed, but even all the way back here into August, let's see what kind of move because remember, she was selling Coinbase as well. So if you look at that move, look at that, 60% right there on the downtrend and that's for the Coinbase stock. So either she's feeling that this is truly the bottom for Coinbase, which if this is the bottom for Coinbase, is this the bottom for Bitcoin? Because that in itself is correlated to a certain extent. GBTC is tied into this. What are your thoughts? Because that's another, what is that, 50% I think down? Here's GBTC right here, all the way back into August. And you kind of see the fall off right here on where GBTC is going.
And it sounds like that's the narrative that she wants to put out as well. News moves the markets more than anything else in the world. And so she knows likely, not that I'm speaking for her, that this is a pivotal time.
Yeah.
So putting an article out like this is fighting against those senator letters and all of the regulation that's going to be coming out.
That's a good point, because she does have some credibility in Wall Street. And I think to a certain extent, she probably has a little bit of DC's ear, not from a political standpoint, but I would think that if a senator, or a lawmaker were to get a call from Cathie Wood, I think they'd take a meeting.
Absolutely. There's more to this story, but we'll never know the full story.
For sure. And you get a little bit of an uptrend right here on GBTC right now. This is on the 4-hour, sliding up back up to almost $9 again, where it had slipped down to $7.50 right there. So interesting stuff here for sure. I do have a clip on Cathie that I wanted to show, and this was a little bit more detailed. So she added 176,000 shares of GBTC just this week. And then at the same time, she also added another 1.3 million shares of Coinbase. So now that brings her up to 8.3 million shares on Coinbase. So all-time high for her in terms of total investment too on Coinbase. So this is an interesting one. Look at this chart right here. Look at that right here. This is pretty crazy. Just to show coin shares now account for ARK's 12th largest position. What does she know? What does she know, guys? Please write it in the comments, because, I mean, you could look at Cathie two ways. I mean, she had one of the greatest performances of any portfolio out there during the run. And I think at that time, everybody says it, anybody can be, a savant in a bull run. But is there something that Cathie Wood and ARK's team has put together around the future of where this is all going, and they know something and they're putting their money where their mouth is? I don't know. This is a big one for sure. She says it right here. In case others, decentralized and transparency are paramount as antidotes to the gross mismanagement associated with centralized intermediaries, not mentioning fraudulent centralized intermediaries. So I don't know. This is, again, gets back into the thing with Cathie Wood. Listen to this clip right here, and you can kind of get a little bit from her of what she's thinking.
Okay, you may not like this thing called Bitcoin. It may sound like a Ponzi scheme to you, but it's acting like a new asset class. And that got their antenna up, because what institutional investment managers cannot miss is a new asset class that will diversify the portfolio, meaning lower the correlation of the returns. And Bitcoin is doing that. And we think other crypto assets.
And your team's holding on to the $1 million forecast?
Oh, yes, more than $1 million.
Above $1 million?
Yes.
By 2030.
All right, so what she talked about there, I thought was really interesting, in the sense that, one, she's very convicted with where Bitcoin is going, but the fact that she mentioned this is a new asset class. All right, so to me, Kevin O'Leary talks about this, the 12th sector of the industry in terms of investment, and as a true new asset class, being early in this, because some people look at fintech, that was kind of a new asset class. You look at biotech, you look at farm, all the evolution, including the advancement in what we saw in innovative technologies, which she started a fund around with RK. All of that, I think, was pretty significant, in the sense that she thinks this is still $1 million by 2030, guys. Remember, we're getting ready to go into 2023. That's 7 years from now. Either she's going to be the biggest doofus, or she's going to be some sort of savant in the lore of Bitcoin. I just don't know which is going to be.
She does want to make a name for herself. Well, it really does read like a news article. Bitcoin, Bitcoin's a new asset class, etc. And then you have the SoFi article about what is a meme coin doing on your brokerage account.
Oh, come on.
What is this?
But you go look at any broker dealer account out there, you can buy some pretty stupid stocks.
Exactly. So it's almost as if she is just the rebuttal to what's currently happening in the news right now after the FTX breakdown. So she's trying to change that narrative.
Well, some people would say that this, though, is her, pitching her own book. And this is the argument you get a lot from people who are like, of course you're going to talk good about Bitcoin. You own so much of the GBTC. You own so much Bitcoin. In general, you're all in. You have no choice. If this goes south, you're toast. So again, goes back to, now is she the new influencer for Bitcoin? I don't know.
I think she sees it as an opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. Here's another thread coming in. GBTC trading at an all-time wide discount, 45%. You guys saw a little bit on the live there, but is this an opportunity to kind of maybe be a problem? Because you look at this discount. Let's just bring up that chart real quick. This was back from the 18th, still down 45. It did pop a little bit, but still, GBTC still a heavily discounted issue. And if this does run into, and you guys know we talked about it yesterday on the show, is we're not necessarily getting the full openness around what's happening with Grayscale and Coinbase.
Right.
Yeah. So what, do you think that, wouldn't it just be easier, in your opinion, just for Coinbase and Grayscale to come out together and just do, here's a proof of reserves?
Well, that brings us to our next article, actually. So here we have CoinMarketCap launches proof of reserve tracker for crypto exchanges.
Yeah.
Now, this is supposed to bring more credibility, security to the market.
Do you think this is fair for CoinMarketCap to do this? I mean, and for some of you listeners and viewers, maybe you're brand new to crypto and you don't necessarily know who the players are yet. CoinMarketCap is owned by Binance. Trust Wallet is owned by Binance. Binance is the largest trading platform out there, and now they have a proof of reserves tracker on their own tracker. I mean, if you did this in Wall Street, people would be looking at you like, okay, we know what's up here.
Which is interesting because I'm concerned about their ability to have enough funds.
Really, Binance?
I don't.
Interesting.
I don't have confidence in necessarily anything right now.
That's an interesting statement.
Because I think they'll probably still be around, but everyone has done something.
Well, I mean, everybody. You look at it, I mean, for some of you guys, we've mentioned this before on the show. Sam Bankman, SBF. He kind of threw a little bit of a threat at CZ when all of this was going down in the initial phase, and CZ pretty much kind of rug pulled him. Bankman, and I'll probably have to go back and find the tweet. He basically said, "Hey, glass houses." And anytime you throw that out there, it usually means there's something happening on the other side. This is not any speculation, nor do we have any fact. This is just some ideas that are being presented out there on Twitter about what's happening there. And again, people look at what happened with CZ and this whole FTT thing, which really started the dominoes. I mean, that essentially was the domino that moved everything to where we are today.
Right, and then the question is, who has liquidity? It doesn't mean that there's any sort of disaster coming, but that's why having your own finances and securing them on your own is best, just for now.
Yeah, for sure.
It's interesting that they're now having a proof of reserves. Look at our balance sheet.
Yeah,
we're doing everything right.
Yeah, and I think, virtue signaling is a powerful tool, my friends. Yes. It is a very powerful tool. Let's follow up here with Bitcoin, just to give you guys a quick look at it. Trading right now at 16.1 as we recorded this, and also trading in that wedge channel that we've been watching very closely, because if it does break down in here, I mean, it does have the ability to really start to nip into this 15K, 15.3. We saw it dip right in here I guess it dipped just a little bit there yesterday. Let's pull up the chart a little closer. I want to zoom in on this. Where did we get that wick down? 15.4. So some people I know I picked up some 15.8, so there's a 15.7 right there. And that was really the wick down that is kind of brought us back in. And we're on the daily right there. If you look at the 4 hour in this same chart, just to give you guys a quick review on this one, you can kind of see that wick up right there on the 4 hour after this little bit of downtrend yesterday that we had. So I don't know, this might be, maybe people are trying to say, okay, that was another good lick down, and here's another chance for us to see another move up. Again, I look at this and I always wonder if there is unique manipulation going on with some of these, and this happens in the stock market, it happens all over the place. So you guys have to be prepared to deal with that. Love to get your feedback on what you're playing and how you're playing Bitcoin right now. Are you going in? Is this one that you're setting limit orders for the next drops? Maybe you picked up some limit orders right here to average your bag. Don't know. Love to get your feedback. Drop some comments below. All right, so we're going to wrap it up today. Dana, it was fun doing a little round with you. So we'll try to keep this going. For you guys, if you're not in the Diamond Circle, make sure and jump in. It's our free newsletter. We drop, what is it? I think 3 emails a week right now. We do 2 updates, and then we drop some special content in there weekly. And if you miss a lot of the content on here, you'll get a chance to pick it up there. If you're listening over on the podcast, this is another way to get into it, but it's just the link below. Click that, and it's really easy to join, absolutely free. And of course, if you want to catch me, it's out there on Twitter, @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPad.